discussion a little bit with this around some perspectives from Australia. So obviously, we're sharing some Indian perspectives around development and governance and so on. Alan, do you have any thoughts on this regarding some Australian perspectives? And then we can compare and contrast a bit more with the Indian point of view.
Well, the Indian point of view is very fine. And as a matter of fact, it's very similar to what we have in Australia. There's not much difference that's been stated by Rajit in his summation of the new regulations and things that have come into that country. We've had those types of information and regulations for a fair bit of time. Back in 2001, the introduction of the Australian Securities Investment Commission Corporations Act of 2001 made a lot of changes to the old Companies Act that we worked on right throughout from the 1960s right through to 2000. The changes that Rajit has just talked about are very, very similar, where large companies have to have a board. There are a certain number of board members required on those boards. Private companies can have one board member if they like. That's called a sole director company. And you've got small and large private companies. Now they don't necessarily have to hold board meetings if there's only one director of those, but if they're a large public company, then there is a requirement for them to hold board meetings regularly. And there's all those other things of disclosure, policies, nomination committees, audit committees, they're all required. And they're all pretty well stated here in Australia, effective and ongoing. In most large companies, small companies don't need those types of things. And there's less arduous circumstances and reporting requirements on those smaller private companies in Australia. The Australian Stock Exchange also has its own rules for listed companies, and those rules are quite, there's about 9 of them. They're quite strenuous on the reporting requirements and also how they will formulate their boards. They must have a nominations committee. Formulation of the board has to have independent persons and so forth like that, but it's not regulation. It's only if you are a listed company, you have to meet those requirements. And if you don't meet those requirements in Australia and you are a listed company, then you have to say why. And it's up then to the Australian Stock Exchange to say, well, we're not going to list you because you're not favourable in our eyes or something like that. That's up to them to make that decision. But the normal things of disclosures carry on right throughout. I think most of the modern world these days are very, very similar. Europe is similar, but there's a lot of private companies in Europe rather than listed companies, and family-owned companies, as you'll be well aware. And that way of work, their way of working is quite different than what we have here in Australia. But we're very similar to India. India have put forward a lot of changes to their acts over the last couple of years, or last 5 to 10 years. And I think that's a great step forward for them.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Alan. And I mean, maybe we'll flip it back to Ashish and Ranjit on this, and let's pick up not so much on the specific regulation, but what maybe happened in light of COVID-19, right? Have regulatory relaxations potentially been eased up? Has the governments and regulatory authorities provided some relaxation given the current circumstances? Any perspectives on this?
Yeah, actually, I add one more point in the Ranjit's conversation, then I'll take up this relaxation.
Sure.
So the woman director is the important concept which is there in the Indian law. I think our chairperson of CSIA and CEO is also a female, and I think Karen is also there. So this woman director concept is very much popular in Indian perspective as far as the composition of board of directors is concerned. So for the listed companies or for the unlisted companies on the basis of some turnover and the capital, the woman director is the important concept other than CSR, which is the unique feature in the Indian perspective. But as Benjamin has asked about some relaxation, so earlier in Hong Kong and the Singapore, there was a concept of meeting through video conferencing and the sending of notice through e-mode and dispatch of all this dividend in e-mode. But in the Indian perspective, it was not there. The board meeting, you can hold it through video conferencing in earlier also. But after this COVID, basically the most important item is the adoption of accounts. And earlier, this adoption of accounts was not cannot be done through this audio visual means. But now, due to this COVID, it has made it mandatory and it is allowed. Second thing, sending of notice, agenda papers, no this dividend warrants earlier, because now it's a e mode. So if your shares are in dematerialization mode, it will be automatic credit in your bank account. But now this dividend warrants also, you can send it through e mode. So all those things have been taken care of by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And the independent directors concept is there. So one meeting of independent directors was required, which has been relaxed. So many relaxation. Basically, the filing fees in Indian perspective, the filing fees is very heavy once you made the default. So we can say the cost of non-compliance is too high rather than cost of compliance. While you file the forms within the normal time, it is just normal fees of hardly $10. But if you make a default, then it's up to almost $1 per day, or maximum up to a very large amount. So the ministry has come out with the relaxation. So till 30th of September, you can file the forms with the normal fees, or some fresh start scheme has come up. One more important thing which I want to highlight, I don't know in how many countries, I just want to know the perspective from others, that during this lockdown, India is one of the country where on 24/7, on a regular basis, the incorporation of companies process has been carried out throughout the process. Even on Saturdays and Sundays, our Ministry of Corporate Affairs was working, and our Corona warriors, our company secretaries was working in those centers, those centralized centers where you have to file the form for the name approval on the incorporation of company, and in just less than even a 2 days 3 days time, you can get your company incorporated. So that is the most important ease of doing business concept, where at least you can have your business going on concept. You can start your business during this lockdown also, and our company secretaries have played a major role. Government has come out with so many relaxation as far as all this incorporation till winding up process is there. Insolvency is also one of the area where will Ranjit will talk more about it, because we have postponed this process for a particular time to provide the ease of doing for the Indian perspective. So Ranjit, I think.
Yeah, as far as relaxations are concerned, there are a lot of say ease has been provided, because due to lockdown, a lot of financial activities has hampered, and because of this, less flow of the fund and non-generation of the revenue and continued say expenses, every corporate has started the facing the problem and heat of the credit crunch. So that is why Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India and also the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has came out with a relaxation to particularly to prevent MSME for being dragged to the insolvency proceeding. So what it has been done, first step has been taken that the amount which was earlier only 100,000 rupees for dragging the company to say insolvency proceeding, that has been increased 10 times, and it has been made 1 crore rupees, so Indian rupees, which will prevent MSME from being dragged to insolvency proceeding. First thing which has been done. Second one is that 1 year time has been given that no insolvency proceeding will be initiated against any company starting from the March, which is basically the start of the lockdown. So no insolvency proceeding will be initiated. Secondly, company fresh start scheme and LLP settlement scheme has been launched. So those companies who are suffering from the non-compliances of the filing of the mandatory documents in the company and LLP form. So a long pending demand of the corporates has been accepted, and these two schemes for the purpose of settlement of their default has been initiated by the Indian government. Thirdly, Competition Commission of India has amended and issued the guidance note in regard to green channel for streamlining the merger and amalgamation and acquisition process, filing process, and making it simpler and faster. so that automatic system of approval of combination under the green channel and combination regulation should be introduced. Further, there are new reporting format for the auditors, which has been initiated and notified, but it has been deferred for a year because it has a lot of disclosure requirement and other things. So during the lockdown, it was very difficult for the auditor to come out with a new CARO report, Companies Auditor Report Order 2020. So it has been deferred for the year. Similarly, interval between the two board meeting was 120 days. It has been extended further for the 60 days, so that lockdown period should be over and unlock period should be utilized for conducting of the board meeting. There are a lot of requirement to creation of the reserve, like 15% debenture redemption reserve for the payment. So these corporates may be facing a difficulty in regard to payment of those and creation of the reserve for that. So Indian government has came out with the deferment of all these requirements and provided relief to the stakeholders. So these are the relaxation wherever possible. I think as an institute, we have approached the government that corporates are facing this particular problem, be it relating to the holding of board meeting, holding of general meeting, or providing some expenses or payment of some expenses or insolvency proceeding. Everything has been relaxed during the COVID period, and 30th September 2020 is the benchmarking which has been fixed. We are thinking that things will start normalizing after the September. If it is not normalized, then definitely further extension may be granted. So this is what the COVID-19, Benjamin, from our side.
Okay, great. Alan, any perspectives from your end in Australia on adaptations post-COVID-19?
Probably only really one that's effective to most companies is the annual general meeting, which is usually held after the 30th of June, of course, within a 4-month period thereafter. And that has been relaxed where you can hold them by virtual means, which is very good, or you can extend it for another period of time until the relaxation of COVID comes into being. The government haven't really relaxed any of the controls over companies otherwise, and there is still mandatory reporting, and overall the Corporations Act, which is about that thick.
I've seen it.
And it is just ridiculous. But, there are certain sections that are there to protect the shareholders, and that's what they've done. They continue to protect the shareholders and get the shareholders involved in particularly listed company meetings. Private companies seem to run themselves pretty well. And Memorandum of Association, which is quite mandatory in most countries, now called differently in Australia, let's put it that way. They have not changed very much because they've always had the availability in the Constitution, in the Constitution for them to hold meetings at different times by different means, by whatever platform you can. But board meetings have always been available to do that.
Yeah. I'm just mindful of time. Obviously, we need to kind of focus on the timing of panel discussion. So I want to move the discussion really into the digital transformation theme. Obviously, much of what we discussed today was around board books and board portals, the digitalization of these processes. Maybe Alan, I can get you to lead with this, and then I'll go back to Ashish and Ranjit on your lead. But can you give me some color from your experience you've had with digitalizing board books? How do directors feel about it, and so on? How's the process been in your experience?
It's gone back. I go back to 2014 when I first implemented one in a very large company, which is a government-owned organisation called Hydro Tasmania in Tasmania, Australia.
Yeah.
And we implemented one. I've also worked with Diligent, and one called Board Book IT,
okay.
Which is an American one, and it covers just about everything we've talked about today. it's changed over time, and they're very, very clear and quick on making changes that fit as far as they can into providing for holding of meetings by any purpose. The way they hold meetings, it's basically they've incorporated a lot of these, and I think...
Sorry, Alan, could I please get someone to mute their... Like, could I get everyone on the phone, apart from the speaker, to mute their line? Thank you. There's some background noise. Everyone, please mute your line now. All right, Alan, I'll let you keep going.
Okay. So
Mr. Nagesh.
The one I was really...
Mr. Nagesh, please mute yourself. Mr. Nagesh.
Okay, that sounds better. So a lot of them have changed over this period of time, and they're now in the throes of, instead of using a number of platforms to hold meetings like Zoom, and as we are right now, they have incorporated that into the board book itself. And they've opened up the amount of administrators. For instance, with Board Book It, there was no amount of administrators that you had to have, like a minimum amount. You could have as many as you like. You could put any board, committee, or anything else through their particular basis of their board book and hold those meetings internally or externally, as the case may be. Everything you can think of and everything we've talked about today in Board Book It's in your presentation have probably been covered by Diligent and Board Book It and a lot of the other higher quality board books portals, and they don't want for anything. Basically, the directors I have found are very competent in looking at what is put in front of them and how it's presented and how they want it presented, and it's all done electronically. It's all done through the portal now. Minutes are written, go to the chairman from the meeting within a few days, and then out to the directors for their approval. It's all done electronically. They come back, tick it all, away it goes. And so all their boards, all their disclosures, all their delegation documents, their policies, procedures, everything else is in that portal. It's readily available to them on a daily basis, and changes to board papers, meeting venues, meeting times, everything like that is pretty normal these days. They are very sophisticated. They are extremely secure, as you've discussed, Benjamin. And what I find is the version control is one of the best things you can have. It's really, really fascinating, because if there are changes, they can be updated, and the board directors can see those updates in real time. It's really good. And when they're at the board meeting, if somebody wants to send them a document, they can do it there and then. They're up on the screen. They're all talking to each other. They can have cross-fertilization of ideas, and it's just like sitting around a board table. It's very similar. There are a few things missing, of course, and that's the personal handshakes and things like that, but we'll get back to that in time. One of the major things that I think has come out of portals is the security of documents and the availability of the organisation's documents to the board when they're up in the portal. They are there all the time, and any changes to those are readily available to them. They have become, through governance, administrators of their own, and they self-administer what they require to see, so they can administer the governance that's required under the acts.
Okay.
I can't speak more highly of them. I think that board portals are definitely the way to go. Even in a small company that I was with for a while, they had a board portal. The affordability is the area I want to cover, if I can. The affordability is getting more and more available to lots of companies. Smaller companies, I don't think, need them. Talking about directors 4 or 5 or something like that. Not really, maybe even 3. Not not affordable for a very small company, not affordable for the top ones like Diligent, Boardbook, it's the others that you've listed, apart from that small one. They are not affordable for small companies. Medium-sized private companies, large private companies, listed companies, they all should be in portals right now because it's cheap and they can save much more money than trying to get them out on pieces of paper and through insecure means using any other means that they might have available to them. Portals are super secure and they work very well.
I fully agree. I mean, we've studied these in a huge amount of detail and looking at the all bells, all whistles, all singing, all dancing diligence through to the much more streamlined, almost a Facebook style user interface and experience in terms of friendliness for the cheapest solutions in the market. With all of the same, you would call it design protocols and availability of solution at that minimum kind of necessary level, so to speak. And then all the other things, I would call it custom add-ons and nice to haves. But there are much cheaper solutions coming out in the market. And you could see from the pricing table that I outlined, right at the top of the range, it's, you know, in your tens of thousands of US, and it can go much, much higher, right down to, you know, 30, 40 bucks per user for some of these applications.
Yeah, and I'd recommend that if anybody is looking to put a portal in, that they go to a lot of these firms. They don't just put it with one, they go to them and they bargain with them, because everybody's going to these things. And in the end, who has the biggest market is the winner. But they will pay for it. They will buy your business. They're in a position now where they're all very, very similar and they're looking for business. So that's going to improve. As you said, it's almost going to double in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. Ashish and Ranjit, I think on this point, would love to hear your perspectives. You know, we can talk about digital transformation more broadly among boards if you want, but I would love to know your views on board portals and how you're perceiving them in India among your corporate community. Are they being adopted? Are they being is there a great reception around it? We'd love to hear your views.
I agree with Alan as far as the cost is concerned, because it's as far as the big listed companies are concerned, or the top 500 companies are concerned, they are using all these good platforms which is available in the market. But for the closely held public companies or small companies, it is very difficult to bear this heavy cost. So now a way forward, because this is the future, or this may be the new normal for all the board patterns. So the cost has to come down for the acceptability to large extent for the all group of companies. But yes, there is no choice as on date during this COVID period. Even in our institute also, we have adopted some e-management agenda system, where we are holding all our council meetings and the different committee meetings through this e-management agenda system, and doing this meeting through all this web platform which is available. But the most important aspect is the security and the safety, because we have seen during this COVID period that the cyber crime rate has increased, the hacking pattern has increased. So whenever we are discussing anything confidentiality, like in our examination committee or the board of discipline or the disciplinary committee or the audit committee, where we are discussing the financials of any company, so the most important thing is the safety and the security of the data. So that is the most important thing, and which I am missing personally during this COVID period or the new normal, is the human touch. Because whenever we are holding the meeting in a physical mode, it always gives a different kind of discussion. It always gives a different kind of learning altogether. So that is missing. But yes, there are some other important aspects also, like the decision making or the fast decision making or the supply of information, which is quite fast during this COVID in the E mode. But the most important thing which I'll say is the cyber security, data protection, and the confidentiality of the data. And second thing, the cost factor for the way forward for the Indian companies are concerned. Ranjit.
Yes, I will. I think substantial part has been covered by Alan, and thereafter also supplemented by the president. I will focus on the only 2 points, which has made very say convenience for all of us. That is agenda management. It was very difficult to handle the bulky agenda in the physical environment. What these voter portals has transformed, that agenda management has been made very easy. Agenda has been uploaded on the portal, and everybody can view the agenda. And if say approval of the agenda has also been made easy, because creator of the agenda or secretary, company secretary of the company create the agenda online and thereafter submit it to the chairman for the approval. And once it is approved, then it is made available to all the board members. So approval process of the agenda has made easy. Thereafter, there is no physical handling of the documents and voluminous so numbering and all other information has been become very easy. Secondly, additional agenda item, if at all required to be posted in the during the course of board meeting, this can also be forming part of the say agenda management system itself. So that is also there is no say difficulty, or later on if you are not able to find out that kind of scenario has gone, you will be able to find even any other item or additional agenda item which has been placed during the meeting. Cross reference and editing can be done if board member want to do some noting on the agenda, so that at the time of verification of the minutes, when minutes has been circulated to the members for their comment, then at that point of time they will be able to cross reference, and they will be able to check what noting I have done on the particular agenda and what is the update, what decision has been taken. So it's become very easy for the board member to correlate what discussion has been done, deliberation has been done, and what has came out in the meeting. So a lot of transparency it has ensured, and definitely it has made job of the company secretaries, governance professionals also very easy. They will be able to manage the agenda, they will be able to manage the meeting, and all the notification whatever is required to be done in the physical mode, that is going online, and no need to follow up each and everyone for each and everything. Okay. So this is what from my side.
Perfect. As we enter, I guess, the final 10 minutes of this presentation, I'm going to fire off, obviously, a few more questions. If anyone in the group would like to ask questions, please put it in the chat publicly, and then I can see them and address them accordingly if we have time. One of the things that I want to ask as well is, I think the number that I was coming out with regarding reduction in costs, right? You talk about agenda management, productivity, and so on. This is our perspectives based on how we've seen companies interact with these tools. We're thinking up to a 50% reduction in cost. 2/3 of the time wasted that you spend on all these manual processes could go away. Fines and penalties, 25% reduction. These kinds of numbers. I'm actually curious to know, in the markets that you operate, do these resonate? Are these the kind of figures that you are seeing? And do the board portals drive that much more efficiency and reduce costs? Alan, maybe starting with you.
Yeah, I'd like to start if I can. Thanks very much. Ben, what I've seen along the line is a huge reduction of costs. But there's also an increase in information, which is the most important part. Costs have gone down, I think, over 50%, because there's an implementation. If you implement it right across in the depth of the organization, for all your committees and also for your private administration committees at the same time, not just the board committees, administration committees and meetings between different branches of an organization, for instance, can all be held on the same portal. They're there and they're available. That's reducing a huge amount of costs and the availability of up-to-date information almost at the right time. And as Rajiv just said, with relation to the minutes can be changed of the previous meeting at the next board meeting when they're signed electronically by the chairman at that date, and the changes are noted. Finished. It's done. They're filed. They're gone. There's no backwards and forwards and trying to get people to do things. It's quite different these days, and it's very economical that way. I found a reduction in the time of board meetings being held because the board was more informed of what they needed to know. and more informed by the volume of information, but also the quality of the information. So they had already made up their minds, and they had discussions between themselves before they even got into the board meeting function. That function is very, very important. And what they have done is they've reduced the time they spend in a board meeting. I found that some board meetings would go for 2 days in very big companies. Yeah. Now they're down to a day or even less. They come in the morning, they finish by, have lunch, and then by the afternoon, by 3 o'clock, they're gone. And the board meeting is no less functional, no less functional at all. So it's much, they're spending much less time, which is very good for directors and their most informed decisions.
Yeah. All right. Is that a comparable experience to what you're seeing, Ashish and Ranjit, around productivity enhancements, cost reductions in India?
Ranjit, I think you can take up this thing. We have a limited time, so
yeah. As far as the cost reductions are concerned, I think as of now it is not started happening. In fact, this technology companies are supposed to be more reasonable, and they should come out with the, say, beta version or a smaller version for the smaller companies, wherein small space can be provided and limited features can be made available, so that they should also be able to take the, say, digitalization to their boardroom. And even for the smaller companies with a very small cost, they can take it up. Because for the larger company, you are providing more space on the cloud, more data is there, and a lot of participants are also there. So some kind of a smaller version of the software can be, say, way forward for the smaller companies. So that
can I just drop in there for a second, Ranjit?
Yes.
Ranjit, what they're doing now is they are tailoring. A lot of the companies are making a smaller amount of information or the processes that they have within their portals available to smaller companies. In other words, they're tailoring it down to the size of the company and reducing the cost. So they're the things I said before. If you're going to get one, talk to the company that provides it, because the provider can reduce the cost and reduce the availability of some of the things that you won't use in a small company on it, including a huge amount of data being held in storage.
Actually, Alan, there was a question that quickly came in around what do current board portals not do that you really wish they would do? Any experience or kind of thoughts on this?
As far as I'm concerned, most of the big ones, the large ones, Diligent, Board Books, Advantage, all those are very good, and they provide everything. There's nothing you can miss out on. It's all there available to you, and it's a matter of learning how to use them.
Yeah,
because they all have the same. They're very competitive, and they know each other, what they're doing, and they'll change rapidly. Somebody introduces something the next day that somebody else has got it. They don't muck around. They're very good.
Maybe a handshake function or something in there might help in future.
Agree.
Two things I just want to add on into this.
Sure.
One
we'll
is
that. So yeah, let us know.
Pardon?
No, well, I think we'll wrap up with your final 2 points.
Yeah. Just two small points I want to add here, and one is that more power or authority for the, say, for example, managing the meeting should be given to the chairman, and he should have authority as far as muting one particular board member and all other person, and thereafter unmuting, because if somebody is taking a lot of time in the discussion, so that management part or authority should be given to the chairman. That is one thing I would like. Some of the companies may be providing, but most of the board portal do not have this kind of feature. So this feature should be introduced definitely. So this is one part I just wanted to add on the board portal. And since you are wrapping, so I will take another 1 minute from you in regard to speaking about the CSIA, and just want to take 1 minute. Everyone present here is requested to say follow and join CSIA, Our website is www.csiaorg.com, and we are on the LinkedIn also in the form of Corporate Secretary International Association. You can that is also is the one thing which you can follow. And thereafter we are also on the Facebook page, and that Facebook page is basically @corporate.secretaries.international.association. So this is a page, Facebook, LinkedIn, and website. I request all the members and propagate this particular information to everyone, so that we should be able to be in touch with us, and we can share the video snippets and contribute the article to the CSIA, so that larger exchange of benefits can be done between the members countries and also the governance professional. So
Okay.
Benjamin, just wanted to convey the message, and this has been given by me to Karen, that you should speak about the CSIA also. So I just wanted to cover this and propagate this information, and for the benefit of all the members present here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Ranjit.
Very much.
Even Benjamin, with your permission, I request Karen and others to also start their video, so at least we can have a virtual meeting with all of them, and question answers can be asked directly also if you feel so.
Sure, and you can all see your comment, just being courteous to people that spent some time to think through this. I think comment from Philip Baldwin in Hong Kong was really around talking about board portals have not discussed board evaluation. So a very good point. There isn't a board portal that has decent digital board evaluation options. So thank you, Philip, for that. And Anjali, cumbersome challenge faced by governance professionals amid COVID-19. Quite a lot. I don't know if there's any first word that comes to mind for Ranjit and Ashish. No full sentences. What's the main challenge? Is it coordination, agendas? Is it communication? What is the main thing?
Ranjit,
what are we thinking?
I will supplement.
Not able to get your question. Can you get
what would you say is the main challenge faced by governance professionals as a result of COVID-19? In one word or two words, what do you think it is?
Cash flow.
Major problem is cash flow, of course.
Okay.
Cash and credit, because the realization of payment has become a very big issue. Of course, we are meeting out all the expenditure, but as far as revenue generation is concerned, is a very difficult.
Excellent. Alan, from your perspective, one word that comes to mind?
Shaking hands.
Shaking, that's it. All right, the shaking hands function, and then the board evaluation.
The cash flow was on lighter side, but I think the most important testing time is the sustainability. So those who will sustain during this COVID period, they will do wonders in the time to come. So most important aspect, how you make it sustainable during this we don't know the period, maybe 2 months or 6 months down the line, but definitely new financial year will come with lot of opportunities for all the professionals. So this 2020 have something different in their mind. So sustainability is the most important thing.
Okay.
And bigger conferences, bigger physical conferences we are missing. Bigger physical conferences. In fact, even CSIA is going to have the online AGM this time. And we are missing international, seminar or international conference of the CSIA this year. So that is the biggest miss.
Okay. Well, finally, as a matter of courtesy, we couldn't have put this event on without cooperating with the great people at CSIA. We have Karen and we have Zara on the line, the president and the CEO, respectively. Karen and Zara, are there any final words you would want to share before we wrap up this presentation? Just a bit more about your organization and the way forward?
Hi, Benjamin. And thank you to everybody for your time. So thank you, Benjamin, for having a co-hosted event with us. It's really been a great opportunity, I think, for everybody to get to know what you guys do, and obviously for what we do as CSIA. So hopefully going forward, we'll be doing some stuff together again. So thank you for the initiative from your side. And obviously thank you to Zara, our CEO, for organizing everything. And then obviously Ranjit, Ashish, Alan, it's always great to have members involved and to, as we say at CSIA, knowledge share with not only ourselves, but our extended members. And I think that's really the focus for 2020 is to say, how do we knowledge share more between the 14 member countries? Because we cover such a huge range of members around the globe. And if you look at our website, like Ranjit said, the front page of our new website, which has gone live internally for us now and will go externally next week, really gives you a good understanding of how much land mass as members we cover around the globe. So this is really great to knowledge share and, like I say, get CSIA's brand out. And I hope in that way, Benjamin, we can help you as well. So thank you to all the members. Thank you to my vice president for making people aware of how you can become more involved. So I don't want to take up any more of people's time, but thank you to everybody. And please carry on being involved, because it's great, like we say, to knowledge share and get an understanding of what's going on around the rest of the globe with members and members of members.
Wonderful. I mean, this is what it's all about right now, connecting. I'm Zoom fatigued, I'll admit, but it's always good to have that contact. Being in Hong Kong, apartments are small. Trust me, working from home is not the same experience as Australia. I want to burn my place down. There's claustrophobia setting in every way possible. But I think these kinds of events are fantastic from a knowledge sharing event, plugging in the global community. There are no borders, there are no boundaries when we do these kinds of things. And, focusing on new topics and sharing ideas, this is the way it should be, right? The world is changing really fast. I think we're all coming to the realization we're not going to go back to normal anytime soon. So we may as well prepare for the future and get set up in a way that's going to enable us to do that as best as possible. And I think the digital transformation of corporate governance, particular board portals, are front and center of that debate. And as I mentioned to anyone, if you want to find out anything and everything on board portals, please go to the website. You can download the report and other bits and pieces that we have written. It will help you sleep at night if you're suffering from insomnia, but otherwise, you can find out a bit more information about what we do as well. A big thanks to everyone in the group today. Thanks to those who joined. Thanks to all of those who are joining on live stream because it's recording externally. Appreciate your time, and we do hope to hear from you soon and run another event like this in future.
Thank you, Benjamin, for your company's involvement.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. Thank you, CSIA, and thank you all the members present here. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Wonderful. A big thanks to Ashish, Ranjit, Alan, as well as speakers. So thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Zara.